And what a week it has been, particularly yesterday, the scenes that we saw play out, still playing out in Rivers State, at the Rivers State Assembly, where the lawmakers have again, I must say a third time now, begun impeachment proceedings against the governor of Rivers State and his deputy. So I imagine that this is some sort of record, Jeffrey. Third time, 2023, 2025, just in March last year, and now January 2026, the Rivers State Assembly has initiated impeachment proceedings against one governor, the same governor, 3 times in the past 3 years. And I don't know if they have looked at this much budgets, because even budgets have been controversial. I don't think they've successfully looked at 3 budgets in this past 3 years, as much as they have gone through impeachment proceedings against the governor. And I just want to throw the challenge to Rivers State people. Maybe just do a search, mental search, online search, ask around, and ask what are the 3 major things that the Rivers State government, both the executive and legislature, have achieved in this past 3 years. I'm not sure you have as much as these 3 impeachment proceedings. The impeachment proceedings will majorly be their biggest achievement. And maybe for the governor, Jeffrey, maybe it will be his movement to the APC and him surviving the 6 months suspension. Really, what can the people of Rivers State say they have gained from this government in the past 3 years? So can we say, Jeffrey, that the state of emergency and that suspension was a wasted 6 months in that sense? Because constitutionally it fell through, and the president has always said the end justifies the means, but this end we're seeing is not justifying the means. So it fell through constitutionally, and the result as well is falling through. So are we going to see another 6 months of state of emergency, another round of suspension? Make it make sense, really, because this is not what democracy is meant to be. Except that we have a different definition of democracy in Nigeria. It's government of some people, by some people, and for some people. Jeffrey, we're here.
It's nauseating, it's exhausting. If I have my way, I don't even want to comment on the Rivers issue, but what can you do when you see it's just about the political class within the state refusing to grow up, bury their hatchets, align their interests, and all of that. And there's enough blame to go around. Governor Siminala Fubara, who is the governor of the state, has a lot of things he did wrong. Nyesom Wike has a lot of things he also did wrong, because those are the 2 cardinal people. There's a House of Assembly in between the mix. There are things that are not known, there are things that are known. But at the end of the day, this is about control. This is about who controls what, as far as the politics is concerned. Like you've mentioned, perhaps the government has done some things, but because of the controversial issues, he will not know what he has done, because we've seen a House of Assembly of 3 or 4, no, 4 first, pass a budget in record 24, 48 hours. We saw a House of Assembly of 3 pass. We saw, in my view, unconstitutional administration of emergency under a Bakate Bath also submit a budget to the National Assembly, which is a budget that is still running, which, according to Section 122, can still run maybe till July. You have 6 months to run and all of that. The argument they are making, the lawmakers are making, is to the effect that they've never been presented a budget under this administration. And, what has happened is that politics has beclouded even everything, and even the law seems not to be saving. Remember this case, the president has intervened, although in that first intervention, when you look at the 8-point agreement that was made, it's primarily, if you look at it, people have argued that it's skewed against the governor. So the question is, if you know it's skewed against you, why did you agree? Were you overwhelmed? Can't you speak up for yourself? Yes, the governor doesn't have much political experience, so perhaps he's learning the game right now. And then there are other agreements that we don't know whether it's skewed against him. We've seen commissioners being sworn in, commissioners resigning, then they brought them back, and then they left again. So it's just a very serious conundrum as far as the Rivers State politics is concerned. At this point, I'm just feeling for the people of Rivers State who are at the very receiving end because people like Amewule, the Speaker of the House, is saying, look, he even said the governor is a mistake, made a lot of comments, was super angry that the governor was boasting, that now that he's in APC, the president will come to his rescue. So I now see that this battle has moved from Wike, House of Assembly, governor, to maybe the president in the mix somewhere. Because for Bashiru, Ajibola, of this, the scribe of the NWC, the scribe of the APC, who is the national secretary, to come out gun blazing, calling the man to resign, calling Wike to resign. I doubt if he doesn't have clearance from above to say that, whether he will be able to say some of the things he say. So as the battle now shifted from Wike to the president, from Wike and Fubara to Wike to, versus the presidency, is a mixed bag of a big conundrum. I'm trying as much as possible not to, because there's blame to go round. Do you understand? If you look at it critically, there are things that Fubara misstepped. There are things that Wike has done wrong as well. At the end of the day, the Rivers people are not gaining anything from this mess. All of them, without an exception, they have all created for the people of the state. And now they have gone for the third time, record third time in less than 3 years, to impeach the governor. The speaker will tell you that the first aggressor was the governor, because the governor, in their view, based on stories we hear, was the first to make a move to unseat him as speaker, even when Yeson Wike had said so. So that's why they moved that initial time to unseat him. So it depends on who you are listening to. I am just tired. I'm just exhausted. You know, if it is possible to just win off this set of political class so that, you know, we can have people that can put their acts together. This is about interest. This is about aligning those interests. They have complained that after they resolved this particular last one, they asked the governor, because I saw the letter, the agenda, when they sat, and said, look, governor, do you want to continue with Ibokete Bass's budget, or you want to present a new one? Also bring the names of commissioner nominees, and so we can screen. According to the reports, I don't know how I can confirm that report, the governor did not respond to them. I hear the governor was trying to renovate or rebuild the State Assembly and then present his budget and do all of that before the new building. But that's why they passed a resolution in one of their sittings to say these quarters where they're sitting now is the official sitting. Oh, God. It's not a laughing matter. Yeah. But for me, Kayode, what people are looking at is not what I am looking at. However they want to resolve their problem, they will resolve their problem. It's within their right to start the impeachment process. And to impeach a governor or a deputy is not an easy process. So it's within their right by Section 188 to initiate an impeachment proceedings, which they've done. In 14 days, they have to do that. The governor has to respond after 7 days. If he doesn't respond, of course, the chief judge will set up a panel of impeccable people with great character. They'll make a decision, I think, within 3 months, whether the governor is guilty of the alleged gross misconduct. If he's not guilty, that's the end. If he's guilty, they will now vote, you know, to formally impeach him, and that can even go to court. According to Section 10, subsection 10 of 188, the court is not supposed to intervene. But where the court comes in is to see whether everything from subsection 1 to 9 was followed. Yeah. That's where the court comes in. So what I'm uncomfortable about is not even this whatever, because we've seen this drama before. I don't know how it will end. I'm not a prophet, but I have an idea how things will flow from here, but I'm not going to say it on TV, is what I call the emergence of amorphous politics, Kayode. This idea, because we has started something called the Rainbow Coalition, where merging PDP and APC, I think is a conundrum, is something that should be condemned, is absurdity to democracy. It should never be allowed anywhere, and because I've seen it be I saw that the governor of Akwa Ibom too was trying to work with the APC and the PDP. What kind of political class are we dealing with here? If you want to do party politics, do party politics. If you don't want to do party politics, forget about it. The reason now, they are seeing it as smart move, they are able to collapse structure, able to collapse party to do that. No. What you're doing is destroying democracy, and let me explain what I mean. Democracy must give people the ideal of choice, and these are top political parties as far as that is concerned. when you mushroom it into one and omnibus, in that sense, you're giving people just one choice. That is the danger to all of this collapsing APC and PDP or any other. No, it doesn't work anywhere. Allow parties to be, if you want to do APC, do your APC. If you want to do your PDP, do your PDP. If you want to do your ADC, do your ADC. Let Nigerians be able to make up their mind who to follow and not to follow.
And that is the big challenge here, Jeffrey. By the way, the Rainbow Coalition is missing a lot of colors. There's no orange there. Maybe you get AAC Shore, orange beret. You need yellow, by the way. Maybe you need to get APGA and the rest. But that's just by the way. The point here is, I want us to get to the point as a people where we begin to do more. I know some say it's too much to ask for. Nobody listens to you. It's just one voice out of a million. You don't have as much power or weight and all of that. But think about this. Just compare the headlines, for example, in Nigeria to the headlines in some other countries. You see what they're exporting. What can we say we're exporting right now? What? Rainbow Party, impeachment. I mean, these are the things the young people are seeing in terms of what productivity is like, because that's what's making the headlines. It's nothing about industrialization. I mean, forget industrialization. It's the age of artificial intelligence. Other countries are setting their sights now on how to show up their territorial integrity, because where the world is headed to right now is very tricky waters. But what are we talking about? It's where we're at right now. So whether you like it or not, whether you are involved or not, they have involved you. So it's high time that the people started saying, yes, you can play politics, absolutely, but governance must not be lower than politics in that sense. Governance must not take the back seat while politics takes the front seat. No, that should not happen. I mean, how can you explain a record 3 impeachment proceedings in 3 years, and it looks like this would continue? Maybe what we'll have next is a state of extraordinary emergency by the president, since the state of emergency didn't work. And instead of suspension, you never know, maybe it will be an outright expulsion. But we'll be bringing you live updates from Port Harcourt and Rivers State Lodge from our correspondent this morning, just to give you a sense of what exactly is playing out. A day after the Rivers State House of Assembly initiated impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy. Interesting times we're in. Is just a year to 2027, so you know that their sight is also on 2027. But how are the dailies reflecting all of these big stories, the impeachment and others? Well, we'll take a moment, and when we return, we'll take a look at the front pages for you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the program. Bukola joins us. Bukola, welcome.
Yes, thank God it's Friday.
It's Friday.
One of those Fridays when your car keys suddenly gets missing.
And it rained. It was a beautiful one this morning.
Yes, indeed.
Just that the, okay, my own is a Ikeja. They refused to give us light, or they took the light or whatever.
They're drying the cables.
My band A is not band A.
So like once the cables are dried, they'll return the power.
It's not band A like band A before. But let's get to the dailies, guys. Mr. Adeni Ifetayo is the CEO of Megastar Magazine, joins us. Mr. Ifetayo, thank you so much for coming on the program. If you can help us unmute your device, Mr. Ifetayo. All right. We hope we can get that sorted. But let's get to this Nigeria. Is where we're starting off from. This Nigeria. Rivers Assembly dangles impeachment axe over Fubara deputy. List budget breaches, demolition of chambers among 7 sins of the governor. State's APC faction calls for ceasefire. So there's, in their gross misconduct allegation, there were 7 things from extra budgetary expenditure. The list is long, 7 of them, and to other allowances accruing to the staff and the members of the National State Assembly, and several other things that are listed that maybe you will highlight at some point of the program. But Mr. Ifetayo, we've seen this drama. I was telling my colleague Kayode that if I have my way, I would. Guys, if I have my way, I don't even want to make a single comment on this matter. I'm just looking at the fate of democracy, but it is what it is. Less than 3 years, 3 impeachments, 1 state of emergency. We've had a House of Assembly of 4, a House of Assembly of 3, defection, reverse defection, inconclusive defection, let me use the word, and then final defection, then splitting of the House of Assembly into 2. You people stay this side, the other one stay this way. You know, it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to manage the words I use on television, but it's just exhausting that in 2025, 2026, I call this, with the kind of politics I see in Nigeria in certain spaces, I call it juvenile politics. As Kayode has said, there are so many things the world is focused on right now. And in Africa, we're still playing the politics of disagreement, like there's politics going on in America. But things still happen in America. Developments still go on. America is busy fighting its internal politics, but they are doing things outside America and doing things within them. And here we're dealing with things that shouldn't even make headlines. I'm not saying you cannot disagree, but how did the political class in Rivers State get to a point where they are not able to put their acts together as adults, as men who have been trusted with power, that impeachment 3 times, and all the things that we're looking at. And if you look at it critically, Bola, there's enough blame to go around. There's the blame on the head of the governor, blame on the head of Nyesom Wike, blame on the head of the House of Assembly member. And now APC is in the mix.
And you know, Jeffrey, from the time that, you know, the State Assembly and the executive in Rivers State began to go back and forth over whether a meeting that was supposed to hold, the governor didn't quite, you know, call it or not, or he wasn't ready to meet with certain Rivers lawmakers at the State and National Assembly, it was already certain that the Cold War still existed, perhaps even from the point that the reconciliation was brokered between the factions, or the godfather and his godsons on the one hand, and you know, Rivers Governor Simlai Fubara. The body language in the room spoke a lot about whether or not, you know, there was a defrosting of the ice between both parties. And you could nearly run away with the idea that, you know, based on what one of the Rivers lawmakers was saying on our sister political program yesterday, when he was doubling down on the breach of the Constitution, Fiscal Responsibility Act, that indeed, you know, the governor deserved defection. But when you also read between the lines following Minister Nyesom Wike's attendance at his continuing thank you rallies in Rivers State, when he said, I will not allow myself to be buried politically. We've made a mistake. We're not going to repeat that mistake again in Rivers State. We'll support the president at the national level, but at the state, we're not quite sure. And he said the proceedings for which that will be ensured will come shortly. And then we begin to see impeachment proceedings launched yet again at the State Assembly level. Then you want to, you know, do a double take and think about whether or not this has got to do with a breach, or if you like, the continuing breach of procedural rules for governance in Rivers State, or there are political undertones beneath. Those are the questions that we should begin to ask, or that we should continue to ask. We've been asking these questions all along. Some will call this a menace of godfatherism, not just in Rivers State, but in the political landscape of Nigeria as a whole. And that really is at the heart of the matter. And it looks as if, despite a declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State last year, the suspension of democratic institutions in the state, that the politicians in Rivers State are going for the jugular, not minding the huge sacrifices that had been made, the political instability that had gone on in that state for a long time. They are yet to launch a second, or if you like, third or fourth part of the Cold War, and it will continue.
No, this one is beyond.
We should hold also the All Progressives Congress accountable in all of this mix? What was the agreement that was brokered between both parties that the minister is now quoting? Who conceded to what part of the agreement? Did Governor Fubara concede to an agreement, under pressure? And so we should ask those questions of the All Progressives Congress as well.
Okay. All right. Yes, let's bring in Mr. Yes, there's a lot to look at. Yeah. There's a lot to look at. But let's allow Mr. Fatai to come in. Mr. Fatai, what do you make of this never-ending conundrum?
Yes, it's just a bit my imagination that, just like Bukola said, someone just want to go for jungler regardless of democratic institution. I was taken aback after the emergency rule, and we thought everything was sorted out so that people can enjoy the dividends of democracy, just for us to wake up and notice that the House of Assembly embarking on a proceeding, to impeach the governor. I thought initially you first of all set up a committee openly to investigate him, and also they should give him to meet with the committee and answer for whatever query, whatever doubt they had about it. And even when they are talking about misappropriation or presentation of budget, you remember before the state of emergency, he had planned, after he was, talked to, and he had planned to go and represent the budget to the State of Assembly. And you remember that it was short and nobody was available. And of course, building that demolished House of Assembly, which nearing almost maybe 95% that stand to be corrected, almost 100% to completed. And I felt that they are just going too fast, and it's not good for our democracy. And like Mr. Wiki said, it will not stand to be very politically. I told someone yesterday that the quality of a leader, or one of the quality of a leader, is that who succeed you. Most of our leaders in this dispensation, they want to put their puppet, they want to put those they feel that they can control. No, until you as a leader, until you make a leader out of your follower. So trying to rule indirectly, third term, which is not constitutional, is not something that is good for our democracy. And of course, I think the APC, they need to speak up. Mr. President needs to speak up. And talking about the agreement they said they had before, it's just like somebody who is in party A, you had an agreement, immediately you leave that party. Going to another party is an entire thing, entirely. It's a different ball game. But I think they should just, so that it's to not escalate to both parties, taking up arms, causing unrest, and maybe back to state of emergency. We just hope that will not happen.
Let's touch on, God, do you have the next one?
Ladies first.
Okay, thank you. Let's touch on Vanguard newspaper, which is also reporting impeachment in Rivers State. Impeachment, APC Rivers Assembly at war over Fubara and deputy. And there are a host of writers here. Perhaps we should go to the others, touching on other areas. Well, we'll take all of them so that it goes sequentially. APC, PDP factions reject impeachment move. Drop impeachment threat against Governor. INC, IYC urge Assembly. PDP split as Wike's camp backs Rivers Assembly. Lawmakers accuse Governor's deputy of misappropriation. Others vow not to receive 2026 budget from Fubara. Adjourned to January 15. ADC monitoring Rivers crisis, yet to take a position. That's ascribed to the spokesperson. So other political parties are now watching to see, how it pans out. But Mr. Ifeta, talk to us about the split political parties in Rivers State now. We now have two factions of the APC, and then there's a PDP on the one hand. How should we be interpreting the voices of support or dissent to this latest impeachment move in Rivers State subsequently, when we see how this goes?
Thank God for Nigerian constitution. Sometimes when they said granting or governor or president enjoy immunity, they put it in place so that they can face governance. I think one of the things I felt that they should do is to just allow this man. It's just in the next year we are talking about election, whatever may be your grievances can be sorted out. Of course, for the political party, Bukola, you helped me that fly will always perch where there is a saw, where there is boy, where there's something that can perch on, and all of that. So those who are supporting PDP faction, who are supporting Wiki, I think they are not doing a good thing to Nigerian democracy, especially in Rivers State. And of course, history will not forget them. Whatever king that rules or that bears, and people rejoice, and they said people will definitely remember, and whoever that brought pain, people will also remember. So I should feel that Mr. President can still call them to order, call his minister to order, call the party hierarchy, even in the states, to order and speak to them, because he is the president of Nigeria, not just the president of one political party or the other. And I was expecting that there will be a statement released yesterday from the presidency or from the office of the president, to speak so that they can nip this thing in the bud before he escalates to something else and bring a kind of anxiety, bring a kind of chaos that we don't want to see happen in River State. I think the Mr. President should speak about it, and just like people are saying, leave this man, all those different groups and all of that, before people begin to take up arms to defend whoever pay them, like they said, that whoever pay the pipe, whoever pay. Of course, those who in support of Wiki, they continue to support. They want Fubara removed, and those who are, fighting for democracy, that let Fubara breathe. Let me put it that way.
Well, Mr. Fetaya, aptly put there. Just on the side, you always wish sometimes that whoever pays for the internet also dictates the speed and the predictability. But, sometimes the internet just acts.
That's another one. Thank you.
But let's take a look at New Telegraph.
Whoever paid the piper dictate the tune. Yeah.
Right.
The piper dictate the tune.
Yeah. The New Telegraph also has the impeachment story, but thankfully it's not the big story for New Telegraph. The big story for the New Telegraph is on insecurity, and you see, Afenifere decries upsurge in terror attacks in Southwest. Others challenges Southwest governors to take urgent action. X-raying moves by northern governors, and Buratai sues ex-army general who accused him of funding terrorism. So it looks like it depends on what region you're looking at. Everybody has their own challenges to grapple with, and states as well. But this one is of major concern. I mean, insecurity anywhere in Nigeria is concerning, but when you see that it is sort of moving across, not just northwest, north central, or northeast, we're now seeing southwest as well. So it looks like these people are going all over, and hopefully we hope that this is not a breakfast that everybody will eat. So what do you make of this, particularly the Oyo State attack just early in the week? 5 park rangers killed by these terrorists in Oyo State.
Yes, I think it's a wake-up call. I thought towards the end of last year, where the Southwest governors, came together that we want to secure our border and all of that. I've not seen the outcome of that meeting being implemented, or coming that from that meeting being implemented. Now it's becoming worrisome. We felt that it was in core north, snowball to north central and now southwest, like they said, because it's happening in my neighborhood. That means somehow it might get to you. But I think they should stand up and do the right thing. I was still talking about state police because we need to secure our border. And just like we're told that some of these elements from the northern part, they are running away, fleeing because the military or the security personnel, they are giving them a run for their money. So I think it's a wake-up call for them, and they should put things, necessary machinery in place. If you still want to do the Amotekun, train them, give them whatever necessary to, and especially they also need to invest more when it comes to hardware, when it comes to, they can come together, 5, 6, 7 governors, let's get some surveillance, to watch over the border, to watch over the movement and all of that, to make sure it's a trying time for us in Nigeria. And whatever you do to keep your home safe and sound, and just be looking at it. And Afenifere has spoken, and I'm sure they should just stand up. Whatever it is, they met towards last year and say we are going to do this. We support state police. What are you doing to that effect? Even this Amotekun, whatever it is they are calling, we just did them in not just rampart like that, but these are secure life and property. Whatever it is they can do, they should do it now before it escalates, that the whole of Southwest is being taken over with security challenge.
Just before we let you go, still on the New Telegraph newspaper, just at the bottom right, that should be, Atiku Amechi will be among leading candidates for ADC presidential ticket. That's according to ascribed to Chief Dele Momodu, because the speculations, the grandstanding, if you will, the interest wrangling, and it's typical of politics because everybody has to show up at the primaries to throw their weight to see how far it goes. But he's saying that these are the prominent candidates to be able to emerge for presidential ticket. What do you make of this list?
Please, can you retake the list? I missed you for
Okay.
5 seconds.
Atiku, as in ADC likelihood in terms of their ticket for presidential ticket, Dele Momodu says Atiku Amechi Obi among the leading candidates for ADC presidential ticket.
Yes, of course. They also control their follower. They have millions of followers or people who share in their own personal ideology. And of course, being a member of, respect to Chief Dele Momodu, being a member of that party, of the new coalition, I think he has his own right to, say, look, these are the material that we have that we can work with. Of course, I'm sure whether they want to do direct or indirect primary, they should just make it free and fair. And if there can be like a meeting that, okay, whoever emerges, all other candidates should, throw their support behind such an individual. And just like I said, they should also make it open even before the primary. If you are going to zone, our distance to south or to the north or to whatever it is, let them make it open so that we know that, okay, this is where they are going. And of course, those people mentioned, they should also have it at the back of their mind. It's not a do or die and affair. If you know that this other person have what Nigeria need, why not support, and you can become the hero of democracy, but not just until you are in power before you can serve Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adeni Ifetayo, always bringing us up to speed with your perspective on the issues. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Guys, just for mention, I saw something on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. It's a report from a research that was conducted. And it says Nigerian youths are politically active online, but silent offline. I'll take that again for emphasis. Nigerian youths are politically active online, silent offline. So I wonder if this year or 2027 will be the year that Nigerian youths will now become more active offline, because you can only do much online, right? Yes, you can mobilize, you can put up those comments, tweets and retweets, likes and what have you, but the real work actually happens offline, on the ground, the grassroots, as they say. So I'm really hoping that this year will be the year that we translate all of that activity online to offline. And
Kayode, speaking of offline, the All Progressives Congress has started its e-registration exercise.
Online or offline?
Well,
both online and offline.
Both online and offline. And the ADC, by the way, is doing some form of registration as well. So how many youths who are, you know, inactive offline are supposed to be there? And so those, we should be drawing their attention to it such that we do not continue Lamentation Part 2 post 2027 when the results come out. If Nigerians are so disgruntled, disillusioned by the status quo, by the scheme of things, then they should begin to make themselves available as well, you know, offline as well as online. And that report is quite critical. We should be looking at the details of it as well, to look at, you know, the demography of the youths that are supposed to be active offline that are not active offline.
Guys, for me, I'm thinking a bit differently. I've been processing it, and it makes me very sad because I've done my own analytics, and I found out that in Nigeria, politicians are not building political parties. We're not. As far as I'm concerned, APC, PDP, Labour, all of them are just political platform. No one has demonstrated yet. I'll give you my conclusion, where I got to this point. First, PDP ruled this country for 16 years. They even boasted they will be here for 60 years. 16 years. 10 years after, it's almost like we're trying to say, PDP, can you just survive one more election cycle? 10 years, just 10 years. Labour Party did an outlier effect in the last election. Nobody gave them a chance, no structure, no governor. Now, Peter Obi has left, all these people have left. It's almost as good as Krista that we don't know what their fates will be yet, but we're speaking to our next guest who maybe is going to twist that as well. We can go on to say, now, a lot of those guys now have moved to the ADC, they're still NNPP. My worry is that APC has also not been tested. When, I'm not saying if, when APC loses election, because you win some, you lose some. When they lose election, we'll now know. PDP couldn't survive barely 10 years. Can APC survive? So it feels to me like what is going on is that the political class, they're just going around using these parties as SPVs, and it's not good for democracy. It's not good to build a culture of ideology. I was studying American elections. I saw an election, I think, in Nixon or Carter in '72, where I think the Republican won supermajority, over 500 plus electoral college votes. That means they won about 48 states. In the next election, 4 years after, next election, that party lost election. Because there's a culture of almost some families have been Republicans, some families have been. So to buttress what you guys are saying, young people should leave online alone for a while, join political party, go join APC, go join PDP, join parties.
And you don't need to leave online.
Yes,
yeah.
Go and join a political party, build. If your party loses election, stay there, not this defection. We cannot build a society like this. It makes me sad. So, trust me, I have said it, and I want to be quoted on record. The day APC loses election, the day they lose election, you see the same set of people, with the greatest respect to a lot of them, they will start moving to whichever party wins that election, will be say, to align with the center in the interest of our people. What kind of politics are we running in this country? It just makes me, I don't know. This is not sustainable.
Right.
Perhaps anytime I say these things, I want to concede to Kayode, which he keeps telling me that you may want to admit that this is our own brand of politics. And it's not difficult to, I don't know.
Well, it doesn't mean it's good, but sometimes you just have to define it for what it is. But big questions have been asked this morning, and guess what? We'll be getting some answers as much as we can from our next guest. He was the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election. So stay with us. Mr. Datti Baba-Ahmed joins us in a moment. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, and we'll begin with politics. Specifically, let's delve into happenings in the Labour Party. And we're looking at the Labour Party, particularly on the heels of the declaration of the vice presidential candidate of that party to run for the presidency in the next general election. We heard him recently when he says he's not convinced yet to leave the Labour Party. Mr. Yusuf Datti Baba-Ahmed joins us now from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Ahmed. It's good to have you on the program.
Hi.
Now, about 6 months ago, the last we heard from you was that you were going to make reconciliation moves, to reconcile both factions of the Labour Party. And less than, a month after Mr. Peter Obi leaves the Labour Party for the ADC, we hear from you again. This time, you have declared to run for the presidency in 2027, and you're saying you're not convinced to leave the Labour Party. Help us tie all of these together and understand what exactly is happening.
Hi and good morning. It is very unfortunate that we live in an age where even when you categorically make your points, the sensational media is too active and too eager in presenting exactly what you did not say. I would like to make it abundantly clear that 2 days back, what I did was simply to say that I remain in Labour Party. I never declared to contest presidency, even though there could be a possibility of that happening. I certainly did not declare for presidency. I simply reiterated my membership of Labour Party, that is all. And in the submissions I made, I clearly stated that one will have to wait for INEC timetable and for the party to make the call for people to indicate their interest. I did not declare. So unfortunate that social media gets so sensational to put out wrong narratives to emotional listeners. And I believe formal media like your good selves should serve as filters and barriers so that the general public would always consume correct information. Having made the correction, yes, I began reconciliation efforts. While some heeded my calls, others took offense and proceeded to defect from the party. Reconciliation efforts will always continue. There is not a single union of more than two people where you will have perfect harmony. APC has its problems like any other political association in Nigeria, not just the political parties. All social unions and associations, all of them, even those that are not registered with INEC, student union bodies, labor organizations, labor unions within companies, all have their internal problems. Large family groups even argue on their group chats. There is nothing strange in a huge organization like Labour having its own problems in an era where it is clearly visible that the domineering party is making a lot of efforts to destabilize other parties. As you very well know, we challenged the 2023 presidential elections because we won it. So the first party to attack will be Labour Party. And they've been good at doing that. They will continue to sustain it. And so shall we, so shall I, keep up reconciliation efforts. Then finally on this your point, it will be good if everyone listens to His Excellency Peter Obi's comments at Enugu. He mentioned joining the coalition. I don't believe I or others heard him say defecting to ADC. I did not hear that. Maybe I missed it. But please find out if he said joining the coalition or joining ADC. Then it's good if you find out from Labour Party leadership if His Excellency Peter Obi has submitted a resignation letter and returned his card as required by law to do. Thank you.
It will be rather untidy to begin, a back and forth on your exact statement at that meeting. But help us understand this bit. Why did you choose events leading to or after Mr. Peter Obi's joining the coalition now, because that's what you're saying, you're trying to tell us, to now declare or reiterate your membership of the Labour Party? Because some would interpret it either way, as cashing in an opportunity that has presented itself as a vacancy. So why did you choose, that time after Mr. Peter Obi's seeming exit from the Labour Party?
The time before that, we had a leader in the person of Peter Obi. The time just before that we had. The time after that we didn't have him, and there was a vacancy for someone to lead and make such statements. I clearly stated that a party that presented evidence of winning over 10 million votes in Federal Republic of Nigeria, that party deserves respect and loyalty. Party that united genuine democratic citizens and the youth, the party deserves not to be walked away from. If this party has problems, as a leader, stay and solve it. You were meant to solve bigger national problems. So please solve those of our political party. Before he left, I had not the space. It was not my place to do that. When he left and I did not leave, that was the right time to say that I still remain in this great party that presented 10 million votes. Labour Party was one that brought me from where I am to support a southeastern candidate so that we could produce what Nigerians have been yearning for long, to answer that question. Labour Party did it in 2023. And I remain dissatisfied. I remain unconvinced by the very feeble and weak arguments presented in ADC. That is why I chose that time. And I repeat, I simply declared my loyalty and the fact that I remain in Labour Party and did not declare for presidency, even though it is not wrong to do that.
So let me ask you a straight question. Are you interested in running for president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Categorically, yes. 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 Remember 2018, I was a participant in the PDP presidential primaries in Port Harcourt. This is no secret whatsoever, but I'm a respecter of rules and I'm law-abiding. I'm waiting for INEC to release its timetable. I'm waiting for Labour Party to make the call, and then I'll make my move. Even before His Excellency Peter Obi aspired to presidency, I had aspired to presidency in 2018.
So I will take it that...
Atiku won.
Okay, I'll take it that we'll maybe see you on the ballot. Just a moment, sir. I want to take this response to mean that all things being equal, we may be seeing you on the ballot for the presidential ticket. So Does this mean that you're sticking your guns with the Labour Party no matter how things sway in the nearest future? We just have we should be expecting that timetable in the next 2 to 3 months, depending on what the electoral amendment happens, because there's a look at whether there could be post-election litigation that will be exhausted before inauguration, which will be a good thing for our democracy, but that has not been sorted out yet. So does this mean that Labour Party is your party of choice as we speak now? You're not considering going anywhere? If Peter Obi chooses to put his stand to the ADC, you're sticking around?
Categorically, yes. But then let you and I and everyone not underestimate the powers of the domineering party. They are all out to destroy other political parties. May God Almighty not allow them to do this. Assuming that Labour Party remains and survives their onslaught, I will remain in Labour Party. That's a categorical yes, and that's why it's instructive. You kindly refer to all my submissions. They were all bullet points that I submitted, 15 of them at that event. So yes, a categorical yes. I will remain with Labour Party, God willing. Assuming they don't kill Labour Party.
Okay, that's good to know. We just need to put the facts right there on the table. But let me get your view so that we quote you right. There are so many things that have been written that were reported that you said about the ADC, for instance, where Mr. Peter Obi has moved to, because I don't see, in my view, whether he categorically says he's joining the coalition or he's joining the ADC as a political party. A lot of people have seen it that the man has moved, he has moved. But you can come and explain to us even much later. Tell us your view about the ADC and why you're choosing not to follow your principal, Peter Obi, in the last election, to join that coalition.
Number one, I am my own person. I joined Peter Obi in 2023, like I said, to answer a burning question. I felt for the South. I felt genuinely for the other divide. I felt for where Peter Obi came from. I felt for what he stood for. And as a brother Nigerian, let me put it that way, let me suppress all other considerations and help you, help your people, help us all together to see that we answer that question affirmatively. And we did, then it was denied. So I am my own person. I had won elections. I have been doing my things before I met Peter Obi to join him to answer that burning national unity question. Two, like I have been saying, the same people who built the APC that is misruling Nigeria today are disgruntled about not having won seats in APC or receiving political appointments. Some of them went all the way to Senate screening and are taking it back now to use the Nigerian people to fight the APC. I am not that gullible. I am able to ask questions right from the beginning of their respective political careers to where they are today, and I answer those questions negatively. I have also highlighted the many structural defects of PDP, that they are deluding themselves to think that Nigerians will agree to be deceived twice. After bringing in APC, they go and remove the P and bring a D and think that Nigerians will just fall for it. For the same people, I have told you that they don't have a Buhari in ADC where runners-up will team up to support him. They don't have a Tinubu, a resourced, focused, and determined master politician, I'm not praising him, who has his own hidden agenda. They don't have it in ADC. The era of 2015 leading up to 2011 was that there was a subsisting promise after electing then President Jonathan. That does not exist now. There isn't a promise issue. So everything about the coalition that happened before is not there now. The same people who brought in APC that Nigeria is so sorry about are now asking Nigerians to please come and vote ADC. When I was doing my NYSC, Baba-Ahmed was an aspirant, and in 2018 we contested primaries together. In 2023 we contested again, I as a vice president elsewhere, when his vice president had left him. And for God's sake, in 2027 again. There is need for a new generation of Nigerian leaders, and they do exist. Like I said, a whole new generation are waiting for a new leader to lead them to a new party. There are good Nigerians. There are people capable of solving Nigerian problems. But they are discouraged by the expensive, difficult, treacherous system full of godfathers and bad promises to make. But there are good Nigerians who are looking for that leader to lead them to fix Nigeria's problems.
Right.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Dele Momodu spoke about your comments, some of the comments you made, and your stance. And, well, for him, he believes that you probably didn't move because there was no place for you in the coalition. He implied as much. He also said you didn't see the larger picture, likened you to a jilted lover. I wonder how you feel, because it looks like Mr. Peter Obi has gone back to his first love in that sense, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, because they ran together in previous elections. So do you feel like you were used and dumped, the kind of person that they call, the young people call the fallback guy? How do you feel, really?
I feel good. I feel happy. I feel fulfilled, because I stood by people who, I stood by someone who many avoided against all odds. And we won the presidency, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then IREV was switched off, the constitution was violated to have another person declared. I am fulfilled. I am proud of what we achieved together. I was never jilted. Remember, Peter Obi has not clinched the ticket of ADC. Remember, where you think he has gone back to his former love, they are waiting for him there to go and contest and get a ticket. I also ask you to remember who went all the way to Enugu to pick him. I will not call names, and I will not answer what my Oga Dele Momodu is saying. I like his style of thinking. He's free to think that way. But look, I am steady. I am waxing stronger, especially because of the successes that we both achieved in 2023. I also said, if Peter Obi does not get the ticket there in ADC, he is more than welcome back to Labour Party. I will stand there and nobody will do anything bad to Peter Obi. It is better for him to come back than to go and do another kind of agenda. It remains to be answered. How are ADC looking at Peter Obi? He was a vice candidate to Atiku, abruptly left Atiku, went into another party, as ADC said, shared the votes and made way for APC to win. After doing that, to the then PDP, where Atiku was, Atiku now moves out of PDP to ADC, establishes it. Peter Obi will come and say, sorry, it's still the turn of the South. Which again, like I've given you the arithmetic, the South started giving for 4 years. 07 to 11. And then Atiku will just say, okay, your Peter Obi, please come and take. Atiku has said he will not step down.
So
I know we're here to discuss politics. But please, besides these ones, this style of discussing politics makes you join issues with individuals and groups that you really don't want to. There are times I want to discuss democracy and its principles. I want to discuss Nigerian style of democracy. I want to discuss the Fourth Republic. I want to discuss the average Nigerian citizen. I want to discuss so many other things besides Dele Momodu said, Peter Obi thinks, Atiku will do. You know. Over.
Well, this is to get your direct response to the comments that he made.
Yes.
And I mean, that's only fair to get the balance. But, you know, people have said Obi has the obedience who have probably moved with him to the ADC. Even the president has a group they call the Baptists who are diehard supporters. Mr. Atiku Abubakar has his as well. So now that you have indicated your interest to run for president when the whistle is blown, that is, who does Mr. Datti Baba-Ahmed have? What kind of following do you have? People who support your ideals, your ethos in that sense. Do you have those people or those supporters?
I do have them, and they are called Nigerians. Simple, they are called Nigerians. Genuine democratic citizens. Their exact name will come to be known when the time comes. But I am not the one who will divide Nigeria geopolitically or ethno-religiously or purely religiously. I'm not the one, or even by sects like we've seen so many doing in the past. Nigerians will be our target. You, me, everybody is welcome. Even if you do not support us, we will work for you. What I'm saying, the farmer in Borno across to the rich plains in Niger State and Benue State all the way to Lagos, the tradesmen from Port Harcourt and Calabar all the way to Kebbi and Sokoto, they form one geopolitical zone. Farmers are a geopolitical group. Traders are a geopolitical group. Mechanics are a geopolitical group. Teachers, my teachers that I love, are an entire political force to reckon with. Journalists, broadcasters, victims of insecurity, all of us that suffer from the depreciated naira, they are our target. I hope that answers your question.
Fair points, Mr. Datti Baba-Ahmed. Bukola, over to you.
Yeah, just some clarifications on what you may have said at that event where you reiterated your membership of the Labour Party. Did you describe the exit of Mr. Peter Obi and the others who left as mere political travelers? Or were you misquoted again?
Bukola,
I'm seeking clarification.
We have I will answer your question. Just minutes back, I told you the kind of important things we have ahead of us to discuss. And not semantics, not words and descriptions. That was the mildest description I could use to say a gentleman who moved from APGA to PDP to Labour Party has now moved to ADC. What you should be fair to me to say is that I said defection is not a crime. I respect Peter Obi for exercising his democratic rights. I even said that my own political history is not devoid of that. But I have consistently belonged in what I describe the leading opposition political party in Nigeria. There are too many important things for us to discuss on prime time in such an important channel than did you call somebody a traveler?
But it's also important, Mr.
That was
Ahmed,
the same occasion.
because we want to know, you and Mr. Peter Obi would have embarked on a 4-year journey had you become president and vice president, and that suggests a very close relationship. So would like to know the nature of your relationship, or the state of your relationship with Mr. Peter Obi currently, especially following your decision to reconcile the party last year and now reiterating your membership of the party right after his own exit. So we want to know just how things are between you two. And that's why I asked the question to confirm whether indeed you said that at that event.
All right, Buki. All right, Buki. The relationship between me and Excellency Peter Obi is solid and is good. In fact, if it were to make you happy, I could seek an appointment and go to visit him in Lagos. But you know how mobile Peter Obi is. We will run into each other very, very soon. And maybe you're not listening well. I did tell you that if he doesn't get the ticket, he's welcome back to Labour Party. Remember, remember how important the job you do is. You are forming opinion of the general public. You have asked me so many hard questions about that event I held. You have conspicuously left out something that is so fundamental in our lives as citizens. The complaints over the decades, every Nigerian talks about hunger, lack of money, poor earnings. In that same event that you've asked me at least 6 questions from, it seems it has not been striking any chord with the general public.
Mr. Ahmed.
No, let me tell you, don't stop me, let me just say this.
Yes.
We promised, I told you that it was possible to quadruple the earnings of public servants, federal public servants. I told you that, but it's not important to you. The relationship, whether I'm still with Peter Obi or not, or I said they are travelers or not. What is wrong with us, for God's sake?
My apologies, we're totally
And now you want to end the program.
Just a moment, sir. My apologies for cutting in. We're going to invite you subsequently. Today we're talking politics. When we want to talk alternative policy ideas, then we'll mainstream what you're talking about. So it's not as if we don't... So the stage is just getting started. Nobody has gotten any ticket. Even the president has just gotten an endorsement. When it's time, we'll match policy for policy, alternative for alternative. So we're talking based on what can be done, based on what is available and what capacity the individual has. But now we're talking politics. I hope you understand, sir.
I understand you now. All right.
Fantastic. That's Baba-Ahmed.
But that one also too is politics. All right. That one too is politics.
Thank you so much for coming on the program, Datti Baba-Ahmed.
My pleasure.
Vice presidential candidate in the last election under Labour Party, still a member of the Labour Party, and is interested.
And now presidential aspirant.
And now presidential aspirant. I must add that line as well. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll switch gears to, you know, what has been playing out in River State. I know even you're worrying, like, exactly when will River State be off? Well, it's a big stage. Politics there seem not to end. That's why we're discussing it. Stay with us.
Let's talk Rivers politics, and we're joined by our correspondent, Charles Operum, to give us updates as to what the atmosphere is like, what the political situation is like a day after the Rivers State Assembly initiated impeachment proceedings against Governor Sim Fubara and his deputy. Well, good morning, Charles. Good to see you again on a professional level, but, you know, politically speaking now, this is the 3rd time we've gone around this mountain of impeachment proceedings. So speak to us about what the atmosphere is like for the people of Rivers State now that we're back at this point yet again.
Hi, good morning, Coyote. Thank you for having me this morning. Yes, it is the day after the 3rd impeachment attempt by the Rivers State House of Assembly on the governor, Siminalayi Fubara. Yesterday, after the impeachment, because, of course, I was extremely busy yesterday moving around, trying to get reactions here and there. I noticed that there was a lot of security presence in the city was kind of heightened, if you like. At the Iliozu flyover, I could see military police. They're typically not there, but they were there controlling traffic, and standing by, watching. Along East-West Road, close to Mobile Junction, they were there. They were along NTA Road. There were more checkpoints this time around, along Ada George, Ajib, and so on and so forth. Hilton, these places. There were so many checkpoints. There are checkpoints in Port Harcourt normally, but yesterday it seems like they went a notch higher. I was also talking with a very senior police officer, because after I was done from the assembly, I was at the River State Police Command headquarters yesterday, and I was talking with a very senior police officer, and he said the impeachment had also set alarm bells ringing within the security architecture of the state, and so they were now, working towards making sure that they secure the city so there will not be a breakdown of law and order. Indeed, yesterday evening, the Ijaw Youth Council, the IYC, had a briefing yesterday evening, quite late, with regards to this, and they've made some demands, but thankfully those demands have not come with threats just yet. So the long and short, to answer your question, Kari, directly, is that there is a heightened sense of security. Yes, people are going about their normal business, but then there's just some, a little bit of tension bubbling underneath, but aside that, the city is cool, calm, and peaceful. Friday.
Well, thank you for that update, Charles. Let's now bring in legal practitioner, Inibe Effiong, also an activist, joins us virtually on the program. Mr. Effiong, good morning, and well, Happy New Year will be in order, I guess.
Good morning, Kayode. Always a pleasure.
Here we are again, Mr. Effiong. Impeachment proceedings in Rivers State. It's been a long 3 years, and I think the highlights will definitely be all of this political drama, in spite of the fact that Rivers State is arguably one of the richest states in Nigeria in terms of its deposits, people and all of that. But what keeps coming out is this political drama. So let's speak to the constitutionality of it or otherwise, and what the future looks like, at least with this impeachment, latest one. All right, connections frozen with Mr. Effiong, but it's important to understand what the law says about this and what this process would look like under the law, even though we know that it's more political than legal. But Mr. Effiong, I see we have you back. Please go ahead. Or do we have you back? Doesn't look like we really have you back just yet. One of those mornings where the internet just decides to act up. But Charles, let's come back to you for a moment and speak to the politics of this. Okay, I understand that Charles also is out. We need an intervention with internet. But guys, there's the politics of it, and there's a legality of it, constitutionality of it, or what do you call the legislative angle. But it looks like what is playing out is actually politics, which is using the law as a tool.
Yeah, and we cannot ignore, the items under gross misconduct that the State Assembly members have presented to the public, and some of which they have identified as refusal to present commissioners for confirmation, a breach of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. I recall that the Speaker was in fact, talking emphatically about how, Rivers funds are being, taking to the dollar market, some of the things that we've been hearing consistently about allocations, and then the impact on the value of the naira against the dollar in the last couple of years. Some of those things certainly cannot be ignored. But as Kari has asked, one of the things that we should be asking is, because the Constitution, defines grounds of misconduct, grounds for impeachment as gross misconduct. So what constitutes gross misconduct under the Constitution? Have the areas identified by the Rivers State Assembly lawmakers, have they, aggregated somewhat to constitute gross misconduct? How should we be interpreting that? Let's have Mr. Enibehe Effiong back now on the program. Mr. Effiong, you have your work cut out already, so help us understand. Have these allegations come together to constitute gross misconduct?
Thank you. Let me start by saying that what is publicly available is the letter signed by the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mr. Matthew Amawele, addressed to Governor Similare Fubara. We have not seen the actual notice of impeachment yet. What is available, the one-page letter, is not the notice of impeachment. I want to make that point clear. The actual notice of impeachment is attached. So it goes together. You have the allegations, notice of allegations of gross misconduct. If you read that letter, you see where it is stated that it is attached. So it is in that document that we will now see the specific allegations, because the Constitution says that the allegations must be specific, the particulars must be provided. But based on what is available in the public domain at this time, it does appear that the House of Assembly of Rivers State is accusing the governor of certain constitutional breaches yet to be proven, certain constitutional breaches. Oh, the governor has not presented the budget, the governor is carrying out expenditure without legislation, so, and so on and so forth, without the approval of the House, matters pertaining to nominations of commissioners and so on. The one that I found rather curious, they are also accusing the governor of not keeping to the terms of the political settlement agreement between the governor and Wike, which the president, Bola-Ahmed Tinubu, initiated. I do not understand the basis for saying or inferring that refusal to keep to a political understanding or a political agreement amounts to miscarriage of the Constitution. The process for removal of governor and deputy governor are outlined. What has happened now is that essentially the notice of impeachment has been presented, has been served on the Speaker of the House, signed by at least 26 members, signed by 26 members of the House. The Speaker, that notice has been read on the floor of the House. I think that the leader of the House, the governor, the Speaker must now ensure that within 7 days, that notice must be served on the governor and the deputy governor. The governor would then be required to offer his response, his reply in writing to the allegations of gross misconduct leveled against him. Upon receipt of the reply, the Speaker must then bring back the matter whether the notice and the allegations is to be investigated or not. And that requires 2/3 majority of the members of the House of Assembly. If they resolve, as we expect they will, that the allegation be investigated, the Constitution requires that the Chief Judge of the state shall within 7 days impanel a 7-member committee and that to investigate the allegations against the governor, where the panel, which is to be constituted by eminent persons, persons of integrity, comes to a decision that the allegations are not proved, the impeachment proceedings shall abate, and no further steps shall be taken in respect of impeachment. But when the House will then have to vote, and they require 2/3 to approve that the governor be removed based on the indictment. So this is essentially the process. Now, in the Rivers case,
Mr. Effiong, well, we hope that you return very quickly. But what I was, Mr. Effiong, are you back? Are you back with us? All right. It's the internet that is dictating the tune this morning, right after receiving payment, as Kayode implied earlier. But what I was waiting for Mr. Effiong to categorically tell us would be a yes or no about whether the allegations that are being leveled by the State Assembly members against the governor have come together and amounted categorically to gross misconduct and is, ideal grounds for impeachment. Of course, all the other processes are also necessary to arrive at an impeachment impeachment destination where the governor may be impeached. We don't know whether this will sail through, but are the allegations grounds enough for impeachment?
I think that is up for determination by the panel that will be set up by the Chief Judge. That's their job, to look at what has been. So if you look at 188, it clearly says that it is what the House, based on the interpretation of the Supreme Court, considers to be gross misconduct. And they've listed about 7 things in their, the list they put out in the motion that commence this impeachment proceedings.
I think they added 1 actually, so made it 8.
Maybe 8 about that. So I know they talked about reckless and unconstitutional spending of public funds, because by law, this is public funds. You can't spend without an appropriation. The only thing the law allows you to do in spending in the new year is just, for instance, now there's a 2025 budget. You can run all the way to June, but after that, based on Section 122. Of the Constitution. After that, you can't spend anymore, and there are boundaries to it. But Mr. Nibe, we want to be sure you can hear us. Can you hear us?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Bukola was asking, our question was actually, and we did say that, of course, the panel would decide whether all of these things they've leveled against the governor has constituted gross misconduct. But from your expertise as a lawyer, do you see the things they've raised? Let me reread some of them. Reckless and unconstitutional spending of public funds, obstructing the House of Assembly from performing our constitutional duties, conniving to allow unauthorized persons to occupy offices without proper screening by the House of Assembly, approaching another group of people for budgetary approval instead of the River State House of Assembly, seizure of salaries and allowances accruing to the River State Assembly and the Assembly Service Commission, that's among other things. So this is what they put out, this is what the committee or the panel, if it eventually gets to that point, will be considering. In your view, what do you make of this list?
Section 188 of the Constitution says that gross misconduct is a grave or serious violation of the provisions of the Constitution. It's a grave violation of the provisions of the Constitution, or please listen to this, or any conduct which, in the opinion of the House, amounts to gross misconduct. But what the Supreme Court said in the case of Inakuji and Adeleke, 2007, is that even though the House of Assembly, in his opinion, may characterize the conduct as gross misconduct, that characterization is not up to the air, it's not open-ended. It has to still be within the confines of the performance of the functions of the office of the governor. So, for example, where they are saying that the governor has failed to present a budget. Of course, if you are running a state without a budget, without an appropriation law, that itself is a violation of the Constitution by virtue of Section 180 of the Constitution and even Section 162. You require a budget. You require a budget for you to be able to run a state. If you look at the provisions of the Constitution on expenditure of public funds, several provisions of the Constitution. But in this case, there is a dispute between the House of Assembly and the governor on what budget is to be implemented. I have read that the governor, for example, has said that the Ibo Kibas, who was appointed sole administrator, the National Assembly had passed the budget for him to implement, and the governor is claiming that that is what he is still implementing. So some of the other allegations, these matters will have to go before the panel which the Chief Judge is to constitute. And the House must prove the allegations with particularity, point by point, fact by fact. Now, if they are saying, for example, there are persons whose nomination or appointment requires legislative approval, have assumed functions, and the governor have accorded them recognition without recourse to the House. Again, that will be a serious matter that the House will have to look at. They will have to itemize the identities of these persons, the portfolio they are occupying, when they assume office, evidence of performance and assumption of those offices. And these are facts that they have to set out. As I indicated, the allegations and the particulars of the gross misconduct is not yet in the public domain. But let me tell you historically, based on legal history in this country, there are very few instances in our country where impeachment of governors or deputy governors have scaled through judicial scrutiny. In the majority of the cases that have gone before the courts have always struck down the impeachment proceedings due to failure of the House of Assembly to comply with the process. But let me make the point. I don't want Nigerians to be carried away that this is just a matter of legal sophistry. What is playing out in Rivers State is a clear political enmity between the Minister of the FCT and Fubara. So let us not just be talking about the Constitution as if the House of Assembly itself necessarily cares about the Constitution. This is politics that also has to do with the allocation of the state. This is a state that is so rich, so endowed with resources. We are dealing with a situation where the FCT minister has alleged that there is about 600 billion for grabs, and is accusing some political players in the country of having interest in that money. So this is about the money of Rivers State. This is about the interest of individuals that has now been elevated as a state affair. Because what is really the grievance between the Rivers State House of Assembly and the governor? Are they fighting over the roads that the governor has failed to construct? Is this about the health care for the people of Rivers State? It's not about the welfare of civil servants. What is the gentleman of the dispute between them? This is politics that they are playing. And it is a travesty that Rivers people have to pay with their blood. Rivers people have to pay with underdevelopment while these partisan skirmishes are going on. And guess what? The House of Assembly members also claim, many of them, that they have defected to the APC. In which history, in how many instances have you seen the governor in the same party and the House of Assembly members in the same party proceeding on impeachment? In which example have you seen that? So it is not very common. So what is playing out is politics, and it saddens me. Campaign has no comments. You have the former governor now going local government by local government, basically campaigning ahead of next year, 2027. That should not be tolerated. In the same Abuja that he supervises as minister, a nurse was killed brutally, a lawyer was killed, all within a space of few days. Where is the minister of the FCT in the governance of the FCT? Why is he so obsessed with Rivers State? Why is he issuing threats to people not to come to Rivers State? Why is he trying to detect the destiny of Rivers State? So I want Nigerians not to be carried away that this is just about law. What is playing out is a clear demonstration of the cancerous nature of godfatherism. It's a situation where a godson has now been declared an enemy by the godfather.
Right.
So I hope that in the fullness of time, that if this matter goes through the legal process that I have outlined, we will get to see the gist of the allegations. We'll get to see the substance of the allegation. But the president has to call the minister to order.
Well,
simply cannot continue like this. We cannot continue like this.
Well, Mr.
And you have the minister in the country basically going out as commander-in-chief. He's telling people not to come to the state. This cannot continue ad infinitum. There has to be an end to the madness that is going on in Rivers State. We cannot continue to simply sit down and begin to talk and talk and talk. Let the president call the minister to order. He should return to his office, discharge his ministerial functions, and allow the people of Rivers State to breathe.
Matter of fact, Mr. Effiong, the Joint Unions Action Committee, FCTA Secretariat, put out a statement yesterday to basically issue a warning based on unresolved and long-standing labor issues affecting its members. Effective from 7th of January 2026, they'd given a 7-day ultimatum to the FCT minister on all of those issues. So they're about to take, action if these issues are not resolved. In fact, that list has about 18 issues that they have listed. So yes, indeed, there's a lot of work to be done in the nation's capital by the FCT minister. But, we have notice a common thread, the fact that this is more political than anything. So the law is being used as a tool, basically. And it begs the question, does the law not envisage these things such that you have political discussions, agreement, and whatever, and then you now use the law, you use taxpayers' money to try to now enforce whatever it is that you agreed behind closed doors politically that didn't even concern the citizens who, what they actually want is governance. So the big question is that an issue that the law does not really foresee, and perhaps in subsequent amendments or handling of the law, we're able to deal with this. But because of time, Mr. Effiong, we have to anchor at this point. But you can speak to that briefly, just for about 30 seconds as we wind down.
Thank you. So let me, for example, speak to the issue of the agreement. There is no way in law that an agreement between the president and a governor on matters that the governor has constitutional powers can be deemed as an impeachable offense. For example, when you as president, you are dictating to a governor of a state who you should appoint as commissioners, that was unconstitutional. So ab initio, the agreement in the villa had no legal basis. It was an unconstitutional document. The paper on which that agreement was written more value than the agreement itself on the basis of law. So I do not understand why they are making that a matter for impeachment. But as I have rightly noted, this is about the destiny of Rivers State, the money of Rivers State. And I do hope that this matter will be resolved. Now, there are two ways that the governor can get out of this. Right. His fate now lies with the panel to be set up by the chief judge and, of course, the president. If the president does not intervene and save his neck, his only recourse will be the panel that the chief judge will set up. If that panel is not favorably disposed to him, I do not see anything that will stop Fubara's impeachment. Right. But let this be a lesson to the political class in Nigeria about the dangers of godfatherism. And we must also learn that power is transient. Right. We can look at Malami today. Kayode, look at Malami today. Malami, as we are speaking this morning, is having his breakfast in prison. This was the man who was deemed larger than life. Today, is prostrating, is undergoing the process of the law. The weakest day of reckoning is going to come in this country. So he has to be circumspect. He has to think about his place in history. He simply cannot continue on this trajectory.
Well, very valid points you made. Well, the former Attorney General was granted bail, you know, 500 million now, and he was asked to drop his travel documents and the rest. So you make a very valid point. Power is transient. Interesting times we're in, but we have to thank you so much, Mr. Effiong, for shedding some light on this. And, you know, to put things in further perspective, the last time they tried to impeach him, there were 19 impeachable allegations against him. So this time we have 8. I don't know if to call that an improvement or not. But Mr. Effiong, legal practitioner, thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, there is the politics. And there's the other issue that Nigerians are paying attention to right now, which is football. I tell you, Nigerians are probably paying more attention to the match which the Super Eagles will play tomorrow than to what is playing out in Rivers State. And we have joining us in a moment, Pooja, sports journalist from Marrakesh. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Well, besides politics and the economy, one of my favorite things to talk about is sports. And when the Super Eagles are playing, I love it. And tomorrow we're up against Algeria at AFCON, the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations taking place in Morocco. Suleiman Adebayo, Pooja joins us right now to help us understand what is playing out right there in Morocco. Pooja, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
So let's clear a bit of air. Yesterday, I think we had Shehu Diko. We asked questions around these allowances and bonuses issues. He said there are no issues, that it was just the media that was making sensational issues out of nothing and all of that. So maybe you begin from that. You have been with the boys, been with the team, so you understand exactly what is playing out. Was there really an issue, or this was just a furore for nothing? And then let's talk about exactly the preparations ahead of tomorrow's encounter.
Okay, so quick one. So there is a bit of issue, but it's a general issue when it comes to FX payments in Nigeria. You have to pass through protocol, you have to pass through CBN, and of course, you know what happens to banks when it comes to foreign currency. So it's an issue with CBN in terms of delay. The money has been approved before the tournament starts. So the NLC Chairman talking about Shehu just came out to clarify the reason why it was delayed. Not that it was delayed because there was no budget for it or because it wasn't meant to be paid. So it's just a delay by CBN. And the authorities have come out to say it's because of the CBN FX policy. So the boys knew that it has been relayed back to the boys. And of course, the boys are ready to face Algeria. They had their first training session yesterday after they came from Fes to Marrakesh around 2 p.m., around 6:30 p.m. They had their first training session in Marrakesh. We were there for 15 minutes based on CAF regulations, and we saw the boys, except Ryan Adebioshu, who is still recovering from injury.
So in your view, from what you've seen so far, because the last we've psychologically we are coming into this match from a good place. 9 points from the group stage, an emphatic victory from the last encounter, 4-0. So psychologically we're better off. Allow me to say that. But I always like to look at weak links that we need to watch out for. Algeria is not a team that is a pushover. Mozambique was almost like a training session. The boys were quite consistent. You can't take anything away from them. But you can't compare the encounter with Algeria against that of Mozambique. So talk to us about what you worry about in terms of weak links as far as this team is concerned and what we need to watch out for.
For Algeria, Algeria are enjoying the same kind of AFCON with Nigeria. They are 100% record in AFCON already. They won all their games. They are playing as well as Nigeria. The recent history, they defeated us in the semi-final of in the third place match in Egypt 2029. And that's the recent AFCON, meeting with Algeria. For Nigeria, we just have to watch it. Thankfully, against Mozambique, we didn't concede a goal because we've been conceding goals, under Eric Chell. We considered like 21 goals since he came on board, and that's not a good start for a team who wants to win major tournament. But good news, we had our first clean sheet in AFCON against Mozambique. Everybody was talking about Mozambique as weak link, but when you qualify for the round of 16 at AFCON, you're a big team. You can put it that way because at the end of the day, you're one of the best 16 teams to qualify, for the round of 16. So for Algeria, we just have to watch it. Our back is still very, because, there are a chunk of experience that left that back line. Ekong retired. That's a big, leadership quality. We have one of the best prospects when it comes to our back line. Frederick Benjamin, was injured as well, which of course was part of the team throughout the AFCON qualifiers and even the World Cup qualifiers. So we are now blending with the likes of Semi Ajayi and of course, Kavi Bassi. But of course, we've done well. Our attack has been doing well in terms of, Victor Osimhen, who has scored 3 goals as well. Lukman, who has scored 3 goals. Akon got his first ever, AFCON goal at AFCON. So it looks like in the front, we've adapted well and we are scoring well based on what everybody's talking about in terms of we have the best attacking lineup at AFCON. But at the back as well, we are still very jittery. But with that clean sheet against Mozambique, I think it's a good one going against a team like Algeria, who has not lost a game as well at this year's AFCON.
Well, I saw a write-up recently, spoke about how Nigeria's been doing well in the competition, but there was a line that caught me deeply, Pooja, and I want you to speak to that line. And in that particular write-up, that write-up said that, Nigeria has an ability to self-sabotage. That was what the write-up said. And as much as there are other glowing things about that write-up, this part really caught deep. Nigeria self-sabotaging itself. We've seen the controversy around Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman playing as a team or otherwise, even this bonus matter as well. So are these issues enough to contribute to that self-sabotage, or do you think it will fuel us the more to enter that match with anger and, of course, revenge for what happened in 2019 and give Nigerians something to celebrate?
Well, I think, I would tilt, in that direction as well, because if you look at Nigeria, it's interesting that this, when we had the World Cup playoff in Morocco, we had issue about unpaid allowances, and of course it cost us that particular ticket, because of course the players went on strike as well. And I think we've had a very good AFCON already, and I think the authorities, even the players, have to find a way to manage issues. I know Nigeria is not a perfect country. We had issues when they call us a country of particular concern, but we have to be very careful, because psychology is big in football. And when it comes to psychology, this kind of unpaid allowances, issue with players in camp, issues with players on the pitch, can actually affect players off the pitch. And then people believe that when players get to the pitch, that's when they play football. No, football is played even outside the pitch, which is we talk about psychology. So unpaid salary, paid allowances, and even to the point that they have to come out to say, if the authorities fail to pay, he will have to pay from his own pocket. That is not good at this point. But the players I saw yesterday at training looks very focused. We saw Ademola Lookman and even Victor Osimhen, playing together, even passing to themselves, shows that the real issues with the team, disagreement on the pitch has been resolved, and that is a big deal, because we need these two guys who have scored. They have like over 10 goal contribution between themselves already at this AFCON in 4 matches. So we need them, and when it comes about self-sabotage, I think I would still to it. The issue is when the issue came out yesterday, Nigerians already talking about how we find a way to self-sabotage ourselves when it comes to these unpaid allowances, and I think that's why the NSC chairman Shehu Diko came out quickly to actually address the issue. But I think the authorities as well have to communicate well with the players. When there's issue with a delay when it comes to payment, tell the players on time, so that no one in the team will feed the journalists and relay it back. And of course, you talk to a talking point. Now we want to pay Algeria, and we have issues to be discussed outside the main game tomorrow. That's not that's what we call distractions. So but I think the boys are focused. I think they want to compensate Nigeria in terms of winning the AFCON, because they failed to qualify for the World Cup back-to-back. So let's see what will happen
tomorrow. But of course, I will say we've self-sabotaged ourselves with the issues outside football that is affecting the real game that is going to be played tomorrow.
Poja, you just answered my question fully. I was going to ask how satisfactory Chairman Shehu Diko's explanation was about, the allowances of the players and how that impacts, on the psyche of the players. But let's look at, what seems to be more positive ahead of the games. Talk to us about the state of Eko Adams now. We heard earlier on about him having some personal issues and he had to withdraw from camp. Have those personal issues been sorted? And relatedly, what can you say would be your assessment of the introduction of debutants into the team for the AFCON?
Okay, for AFCON, everything is settled. When his mom came to first, I think they had issues, health-wise. And, during that game against Mozambique, she was actually in the hospital. So we had at the mix zone, we had question with Akwa Adam, and he said, of course, his mom was in the hospital. So after the game, he was granted a permission to go, outside this camp to meet parents, to meet his mother, and thankfully, his mother has been discharged from the hospital and she's fine. And hopefully, we are going to see her in the stadium, because he said against Mozambique, the ticket has been bought, cardigan has been bought for his mom to come to the stadium to watch him. But hopefully tomorrow we are going to see his mom at the hospital, because according to Akwa Adams and of course the NFL media, mom okay and out of the hospital. So thankfully, the psychology-wise for Akwa Adams is perfect. For debutants, I think we've not really introduced debutant, because when it comes to big tournament like this, you don't have the luxury to actually play in your new players. Against Uganda, Eric Choi tried to give caps to some new players, the likes of Ryan Alibio Shu'u, played for Blackburn. He got injured in that same match, and of course he's still out, and he's not going to play against Algeria.
We clamor to see Oyedika in the team. He played, of course, a good game, scored 2 goals against Uganda. Not a debutant, but of course, he has not had that chance to play, under Eric Chell. He had his chance under Eric Chell, and he came on against Mozambique as well. That means he played well against Uganda to have another round of few minutes against Mozambique. For the goalkeeping position, Uzor, played against Uganda. Of course, he has been out of the team for the past 3 years, back into the team. So we can say a fresh debutant, right, because he has been out of the team for like 3 years. So you can't really have the luxury to test new players or debutant in this tournament, because you need your team to play together and, of course, to win a major tournament.
Yes, definitely. You don't have that luxury. Pooja, before we let you go, there are 2 questions I want to ask you. People usually ask prediction, but I don't want the prediction for this quarterfinal match. I want your prediction for the teams that will play the final. So I want you to skip the quarterfinal, semi-final, and go to the final. But on the flip side, I know you have a relationship with Victor Osimhen, and I mean, I think that relationship has earned you accolades and flags at the same time. I don't know if you had a conversation with him after what played out. What was that conversation like? What were the things he told you about the outburst, how he felt, and how he's feeling now? So 2 questions in one, Pooja.
Okay, so let me talk about teams that will qualify for the final. It's obvious, I represent Nigeria, with my outfits, Ankara-wise. So it will be criminal for me not to put Nigeria in the finals. So we'll be in the finals, and I don't want to talk about any other team that will be in the final. Any team that faces Nigeria in the final, we are going to pick the trophy June 18 in Rabat. Talking about Victor Osimhen, immediately after the game, I had a conversation with him, and it's very simple. Immediately he told me, Pooja, the issue has been resolved even before the teams left the dressing room. This is the first time I will be saying it. I didn't post it. I didn't tweet it anywhere, because I respect the relationship, I respect friendship, and I don't want to be like doing a kind of PR for Victor Osimhen. But when it comes to the team comes first before any player. And immediately Victor Osimhen said, yes, issue has been resolved even before he left the dressing room. So when they saw Victor Osimhen leaving, in the mix zone, being the first player to leave the dressing room, the issue has already been resolved. And, that is immediately after the game. So the players know that psychologically they can't do that. Emotions flare up during games. We've seen big personality when it comes to football having issues on the pitch. The most important thing is when they get to the dressing room, is resolved once and for all. And of course, Victor Osimhen confirmed to me that before they left the stadium, before they left the dressing room, they've resolved the issue and everybody is in good state of mind. So that's confirmation from Victor Osimhen himself, and I think Nigerians have to respect that. Nobody wants to sabotage the team. I don't think anybody is bigger than the Super Eagles, but when issues like this come up, we don't have to overspread it when teammates have come together to resolve the issue. Because even before Victor Osimhen spoke to me at the press conference after the game, Lukman have already said there's no issue like that. And the players we asked during the mid-zone, from Chizoze, from Victor Samamosis to the captain of the side, Ndidi, everybody confirmed that before they left the dressing room, everything has been resolved.
Pooja, thank you so much. We wish the boys the very best. Well, thank you as well. I'm sure we'll be touching base with you as the tournament progresses. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So, guys, I am looking forward to victory. I'm not no second place. I just want us. However, I want to win this thing. Since I can't go to the US with the boys.
Yes.
Let's manage.
Yes.
You're hopeful. I like that.
Chairman Chiodiko did talk to us about it yesterday, so he said FIFA hasn't decided.
Bukola made sure she asked, because Bukola supplies go to the US and Canada for
that would be very nice if we're able to use whatever means necessary to go there. But we must thank you all for being part of the show today and for the beginning of the week till now. Thank you for your time and company. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. Bye-bye.
Yes, hopefully celebrating Nigeria's victory tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
Win or lose, still Nigerians anyway. Have a great weekend. I'm Kayode Kikili. Don't forget Sunrise Daily is next.